Sorry. Just got here and I'm already distracted. How's everyone? It's um I'm trying I'm trying to figure something out on my desktop computer. It is Saturday afternoon and 1 o'clock. Just about 1 o'clock, right on the dot. And no topic off the top of my mind. I thought about talking about um, Breath of Fire. It is not. I did a demo maybe a month or so ago on let's see, after a burpee workout. It's not a bad. You generally don't want to do it after you work out. It is a good warm up for the lungs. It helps to detox the body, and it is it's a valuable breath. Kapalabhati, um, is what it is often referred to. So I'm attempting to check my email from my desktop, which doesn't always work with me. There we go. All right, I think we're set. So, but I don't know if we're going to talk about Breath of Fire. We'll see. We'll see who shows up. I have a feeling, it's Saturday, it's weekend, that this might be a slow session. Live. Maybe no one pops in. Maybe someone does. We'll see. We take it as it comes. One thing I definitely wanted to talk about. I had a interesting conversation from my friend Duncan Walsh of Duncan Walsh Motivation Fitness Motivation. Sorry, Duncan, if I got that wrong. And he asked me, he came on right when we were wrapping things up, so I didn't have a great deal of time to talk about it. And he had asked me about if I had ever tried or ever used any type of drug for mental health. Specifically, I think he was referring to, like, I think he might have said recreational drugs. I don't remember. But specifically, I think he was talking about marijuana or LSD, mushrooms, something along those lines. And it had me thinking about mental health, my own in particular, because there's been an underlying depression through much of my life. Few times I actually saw a professional. I was offered antidepressants, which I declined because somehow, amazingly so, I've gotten to be okay with that depression. It's sort of weird to say, to be okay with depression. Meaning, when you're depressed, you're depressed. Don't try to talk yourself out of it. Don't try to fight yourself out of it. I'm very fortunate in that it has been uh, much of my life. It's been light. It's not been a heavy depression. It has never put me in bed for weeks at a time. And I know of people who it has. That doesn't mean it's always been easy, though. Meditation has helped. And that's sort of what I want to talk about. The things that have helped as well. About 2 years ago, maybe a little over, maybe it's been closer to three, I was, I started experiencing some breathing, not difficulties, but unease, specifically on the exhale. And this was right at the height of COVID. I had a hard time getting a doctor's appointment. When I finally did, they did some x-rays, and I never really heard back for a while. They said everything seemed fine. I was reading my records some months later, and I saw that they said I had a progressive lung disorder. I forget what it's called, where you have the lungs overly inflated lungs, where you have trouble exhaling. Progressive doesn't sound good at all. And I contacted my doctor, and she didn't really have a good explanation on why this wasn't like, it was in the records, but we never talked about it. I never saw it. She never said, by the way. And things seemed to be getting worse. And I finally got a doctor's appointment to fully get tested. I saw a pulmonologist, am I pronouncing that right? And I had a CAT scan, and I did the breathing thing. I forget what it's called. And the doctor basically said, you have really big lungs. You're an endurance athlete. Your lungs are big. You don't have anything the matter. Although he said there seemed to be some type of issue with the exhale. No one could figure it out. No one has yet to figure it out. Somewhere in that course of time, though, doctors diagnosed me with anxiety and having panic attacks, which surprised me, but also made sense. That it was a stressful time for everyone, but I was also a caregiver for my father in his last few years, critical care in his last few months, trying to keep him safe during COVID. And it wasn't easy because there was others who were close to him that didn't really adhere to safe protocols. And as much as I tried to make sure that everything was fine, it just didn't seem to be working out too well. So anyway, it made sense. What didn't make sense was I taught meditation. I'd been meditating for decades and decades. I practiced yoga. I practiced breath work, other stress reduction techniques. I exercised daily. I had a really good diet. How could I be suffering from anxiety? Why happened to me? No answer. Because why not happen to me? Nothing makes you bulletproof. You can meditate you can be a vegan, which reduces your risk of heart disease, reduces your risk of cancer. And I'm certainly happy to be a vegan. You can still get cancer. You can still get heart disease. You can still die of a heart attack. You can meditate for 50 years and practice yoga and breath work and still suffer anxiety and still suffer depression, because it happens. No one's excluded from life, from the details of life, from the varieties of life, what it offers. You can minimize your chances, and then you can have some powerful tools to help you deal with that, maybe even overcome it, maybe even bypass it if it runs in your family. But a lot of that is also luck of the draw. So I was suffering from anxiety and panic attacks, and pretty bad panic attacks, where I just couldn't sleep. I would lie down. I'd feel exhausted, ready to sleep. I would lie down, and all of a sudden, it was like live wires shooting through my body, and I couldn't lie still. I had to jump up. And that would happen all through the night until I'd give up, and I would just pace quietly up and down my steps so I wouldn't wake anyone. Hey, Odom's Homestead is here. Um, and he says, Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday to you, my friend. How's the weather down there in Tennessee? I'm here talking a bit about mental health, my own struggles, um, how I've dealt with it. Some questions from my friend Duncan. Well, you've met Duncan here before. Odom says, not in Tennessee, Savannah, Georgia. How's the weather in Savannah, Georgia? So, although meditation didn't protect me from anxiety and panic attacks, nor depression, it certainly made it lighter and certainly made it more, it gave me the tools. Now, at first, it also made it harder for me to identify the anxiety because I just assumed that I was bulletproof. I was covered. It wasn't going to happen to me. Of course, it didn't help to be misdiagnosed with a lung disorder, fed into the anxiety. And it took, like I said, quite some time to get that sorted out. But, let's see. Odom says, windy, 60 degrees. Here for YouTube. Meet up. Soil Family Expo. Hey, that sounds pretty cool. I've not been to Savannah, but the photos, videos I've seen, film, it is very pretty. Almost has this, almost looks unchanged from hundreds of years ago. Like time has stood still in Savannah, Georgia. Get that way about quite a few places. It's that way where my family is from in northern Pennsylvania. Odom says, yes, have met a lot of YouTube content creators here. Beautiful place. That's good. Are they, you getting any inspiration for your own channel? What you might like to do? Directions you might want to take it or not take it? For me, the more and more, although I keep putting my burpees workout up, and I will continue that, it's become doing these live streams. Seems to be, right now at least, the direction I really want to go. Odom says, yes, I'm buying a lot of trees. So I'm taking it you drove a truck down there so you can get your trees back home. I'm also going to guess you're buying fruit trees, right? So I guess the take home message: don't think your practice, meditation, breath work, yoga, or it could be qigong, it could be tai chi. Don't think that it makes you bulletproof. Same with your diet, same with your exercise program. Everything's on the table. However, don't discount your practice from keeping you healthy. When I deepen my breath work, and the best way for me to deepen something is to want to offer it to more people. So I didn't want to just concentrate on my own breath work. I wanted to be able to teach it, present it to others. So I took several certification classes in order to, one, deepen my practice, and two, give me an outer focus. Man, I think one of the best ways to deal with depression and anxiety, put your focus on being of service, helping other people, helping people who are struggling like you or struggling however they are. that doesn't mean always offering solutions. Sometimes it means just being there, being open, offering your presence. I've had more, I've gotten good advice through the years. I think all of us have. Hopefully, I've given some good advice through the years. But I think the most valuable things that have been offered me is when someone just gives their presence, when they sit with you, when they open wide to you, when it feels like you're being held without actually physically being touched. That's how wide open that presence is. And I think that's, don't want to undervalue uh, a healing touch. Sometimes holding someone's hand or even putting a hand on someone's shoulder can make all the difference in the world. But just being that open presence for someone. Odom says, truck, no in the car. Don't know how we're going to get them home. Yes, fruit trees. More blood orange. I've had blood orange before. Very good. Mexican cream guava, Barbados cherry, and a couple of loquat trees. Well, that's a big haul. I'm interested in how you're going to get that home. Are you with your wife? So maybe you could rent a truck. So it was an interesting question from Duncan. Has recreational drugs helped my mental health? It's been a long time since I've done recreational drugs, and I don't really consider them now as something that would help. For some people, smoking pot might help anxiety. For me, the last few times that I did it, it made me paranoid, which certainly is not going to help my mental state at all. Says, yes, with my wife, and today is her birthday. Hey, happy birthday to Mrs. Odom. Did she get to pick out a tree on her own? Happy birthday, tree. And I don't know. There's been studies where critically ill patients on their deathbed have been given mushrooms and guided, having a psychotherapist shaman guide them through a mushroom trip. And as they come out of it, the depression of dying has been lifted. A large amount of fear of dying simply gone away. Absolutely amazing. But I do believe you need that kind of guidance to take you through it, to get those kind of results. If you take it the way I used to take it back in the 1980s, it's great for having otherworldly, other reality experiences. But if you want that profound transformation, a more lasting one, because for me, when it was over, it was like, well, I got to try it again and again and again. That's not helpful. That's why Huxley in Doors of Perception talked about it's like going through, it opens this door to a greater and broader reality, a more beautiful reality, but it's the same door every single time. So what, do you end up taking more, or do you take it more often? It doesn't really matter, because it's, you have that experience. Now what? Meditation takes you through and keeps you through. It's a different door every time. A more profound and deeper sense of peace, I think. Combine that with some type of psychotropic therapy, and I think we might be onto something. That might be similar to being guided through the Bardo system that they talk about in Tibetan Buddhism. You know what? I was going to guess that she found the cherry tree. She said, thank you. And she found the Barbados cherry. She loves cherries. I use black cherries throughout the year. I'll put it, if I'm doing in the summertime, when it's hotter, I'll do smoothies as part of the last meal of my day. I don't do it in the colder winters because it actually um, doesn't suit my body too well. I need warmer foods in the winter, cooler foods in the summer, and that seems to create a really nice balance. But I use black cherry. Sometimes I'll put it in my oatmeal as well, as it helps with inflammation. Definitely one of the things that help with any mental health issue and with anything in mental health, it's a little bit of a catch-22. Being in motion, exercising, walking, getting out in nature. And here's the paradox, the catch-22. Sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. It helps to have someone close to you that can not force you, but coax you a little bit of the time. Give you that incentive. If not for yourself, you're doing it for someone else. Of course, like I said, varying degrees of depression. Sometimes you can't do anything for yourself, and you certainly can't do anything for anyone else, which deepens the depression because you would love to do something for your loved one. You're just overwhelmed. Overwhelmed is even an understatement. You're underwater. You're under that deep water of depression. Odom says, being as a black cherry, we grow them first year, uh, setting fruit. Cherries are certainly good for you. Cherries and blueberries, all berries are good for you. Considered a superfood. But they've done studies that I think it's half a cup of blueberries a day. Might need to look that up. And half a cup of blueberries a day increases cognitive function. You're smarter. Not to mention it improves your immune system. Sorry, I blanked out as I was typing. Good for the skin. I'm getting it by sex. Blueberry benefits for men, blueberry benefits for women, and I want to do it across the board. It will reduce your risk of chronic disease, lower blood pressure and cholesterol. You have better cognitive function, as mentioned. You recover from your workouts more quickly. Definitely helped me ultra running. You improve your vision, better digestion, and you improve your skin health from blueberries. It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And the Greeks said, let food be thy medicine. Somehow we've steered away from that. Medicine is our medicine, and food is our emotional blanket. We eat for our emotional needs. We eat out of boredom. The weird thing is, we're addicted to the food that we eat. We shouldn't be. You shouldn't be addicted to your food. But it's actually been designed with the right amount of sugar, the right amount of fat, the right amount of one other ingredient, and I can't think of it, to keep you addicted, to keep coming back for the stuff that's killing us. Odom says blueberries full of antioxidants, antibiotics, and antioxidants. Yeah, they're definitely a superfood. They're also on that dirty dozen list. The foods that you're most better off, better served to buy organic because of the pesticides, the insecticides, herbicides, uh, conditions of the soil, that you're much better off. While we're Googling stuff up, we'll click on that. It's amazing when we think, food should be good for us. And originally, it was. But even the things that, you know, that we think should be excellent for us are now almost endangered. I'm looking for that dirty dozen. Odom says we grow a lot of blueberry too. Most of our bushes are in bloom now. Excellent. I do. I have blueberries every day. I also do, not every day, but quite a bit, almost every day, strawberries. Strawberries are very good. A lot of things. Maybe we'll Google that up as well. But specifically, they're very good for the esophagus. Very good for digestion as well. Great source of fiber. They're on the Dirty Dozen list as well. These are, again, the foods that are most contaminated with pesticides, and you're better off buying organic. Or, as Odom, grow them yourself. What a wonderful feeling to be nourished by your own food, Odom. To me, that's pretty incredible. You're extremely fortunate to get so much out of your garden. And I don't just mean uh, the food itself, but the nutrients that you get from your garden, the exercise that you get by gardening. I liken gardening almost to yoga. You're stretching, you're holding positions, you're moving again, as well. The emotional, the spiritual health, and I know that connection for you spiritually. So yeah, we have strawberries, we have spinach, we have kale, collard green, and mustard green. I gotta admit, I don't always buy my kale organic. I wash it. I should buy organic. Quite a price difference, but it's worth it. Grapes, peaches, pears, nectarines, apples. I like buying organic apples. For me, they taste better. The overall quality is almost always better. But again, sometimes, man, I'm afraid I go with price. Odom says, yes, gardening is some work, but I love it. Yeah, I can tell. I think anyone who spends any time on your channel, they know right off the bat this is your passion. Bell and hot peppers. I actually stopped eating bell peppers. I don't know why. I don't have a specific reason why. They just sort of fell off my nutritional radar. They have some nutritional properties, but they never seem that powerhouse. So when I think of what I want to include in my diet, um, I go for the most bang for the buck, the most nutritional bang for the buck. And the other stuff sometimes falls on the wayside. And bell peppers have done that. Cherries, blueberries, and green beans. I did not know green beans. I don't really eat green beans. Lentils every day. Let's see. Odom says you can grow some kale in a container. I'm going to have to look that up. I would definitely be interested in that. Our friend Brian Lane with the wrench is here. Hello, Eric. Hello, Odom. Brian, how are you? Hey, that was really nice. Brian says, happy birthday to your wife, Odom. These are the 15 clean. These are the clean foods to eat. So we got some good news too. Carrots. Man, I used to eat a lot of carrots. I used to make my own carrot juice. I would juice all the time. Sweet potatoes. I ate a lot of sweet potatoes too. Mangoes, and I absolutely love mangoes. Don't eat them often, but I love them. Brian says, I'm great. Thanks for asking. How about you? Doing pretty well too, actually. Mushrooms. Mushrooms are another thing that fell off my list. Don't know why. When I was having some health issues, I took all kinds of stuff out of my diet that I thought might be affecting me. I didn't add a whole lot back in. My diet's been very restricted for a number of years. Watermelon, cabbage, kiwi, honeydew melon, asparagus. I would have think that asparagus would have been on the dirty dozen list, but it's considered a clean food. Sweet peas, papaya, onions, pineapple, sweet corn, and avocados. They don't have bananas on here. Oh, they do. Bananas are in the in-between. Odom says, I like the way my wife fixed green beans, fried with a lot of salt and pepper. She said, thank you, Brian Lane. I'm trying to think. I think I probably steamed green beans, which is probably why they fell off of my things to eat. Odom says, carrots is one thing I have to work on. I eat 95% of my vegetables are completely raw. I have red potatoes in the mix of what I eat. Of course, those I bake. I dice up. I put them with my brown rice and my lentils. And I have it with turmeric, which is a great herb, great for a whole lot of stuff. Maybe we'll look that up too. And really good for inflammation. But yeah, steaming. I do have one serving of steamed vegetables, steamed kale, steamed broccoli every day. Some foods are actually better off cooked because you're releasing the nutrients. As a matter of fact, some people say it was fire and heating our food that caused the brain to increase in size in primitive man, giving us that rise in intelligence, that evolutionary advantage. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. Some people claim it was eating meat. Some others say that's not necessarily true because it's been proven scientifically now, we didn't eat as much meat as people originally assumed. It's not easy hunting the big game with spears. This was before bows and arrows, remember? So we were mostly scavengers and we had to compete with other scavengers. But we were great gatherers because we were bipedal and we were able to cover great distances, which also improved our respiratory. That's why we can outrun over distance horses and dogs. Can't catch them in a sprint. They can't catch us over distance. Brian says, I have hot pepper seeds. Hot pepper seeds are good for you. Odom says, that's great. Brian says, I always loved doing a little bit of landscaping or garden work outside. Man, I loved it when I was a kid, working in my grandmother's huge garden. And then where I grew up, you could rent every year. You can rent a garden plot, and we would rent one or two, and have pretty big gardens too. I can honestly say, you know what, doing garden work, it feels like God's work. Tending the soil. Flowers here. She says, oh, you're live? How long has it been? It has been almost 36 minutes. Flower says, anyway, hi. Anyways, hi. And how are you, Flower? And I'll be back this evening. I'll be doing a live one. I didn't think anyone would be around today at all. Being Saturday afternoon, it's been sort of a slow day on the interwebs. Odom says, yes, it feels great to be out working in nature. And especially what you're doing, producing food, nourishes you, nourishes your family. Hey, I never asked you, do you plant flowers just for the sake of having flowers, just because they're beautiful to have around? Also great for pollination. Flower saying hi to Brian. Odom says hi to Flower. Hey, Flower, you mentioned last night that you were thinking about doing some stuff with your YouTube channel. Have you given that any thought? And speaking of YouTube channels, if anyone pops in and they are not friends with Brian, or friends, subscribers, definitely visit. I think Brian has a really important YouTube channel. And not just Brian. Brian says, hey, Eric, why do they say nasal breathing makes people more attractive? I've been hearing this, but don't know exactly what they mean. I think it's obvious, Brian. I shouldn't even have to say if that's true or not. I think anyone coming here on YouTube would say that guy is obviously a nasal breather. Obviously, I'm joking. You know what? I'm trying to think. Have I heard that before? Let's see. Let's see what Google has to say, and then we'll talk about it. Could be for complexion. When you nasal breathe, you are increasing your natural production of nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide acts as a, what's the word I'm looking for? It expands blood vessels, so it increases circulation. So you're going to have better circulation in the face, better blood flow, as well as reducing wrinkles. So that could be why. That's going to be my guess. There might be other factors. I'm going to Google it up in just a minute. Brian says maybe it's something to do with jawline. Could be. I'm going to go with the nitrous oxide. Flower says, I still don't know what to post there, but I do have some ideas, and I will have multiple channels, but I'm still not really okay for anything yet. You will. Keep open to inspiration. Now, supposedly mouth breathing changes your face because it will, mouth breathing will affect your jawline for sure. Sorry, my nose, my My cat is meowing at me. So here they're saying nose breathing increases attractiveness, but only if chronic mouth breathing is present at a young age. That if mouth breathing starts at an early age, it can affect the development of the upper jaw and palate, which translates to a narrower mid-face nose and a more sunken appearance of the cheeks. So I don't know. So when you correct that, I don't know if nasal breathing would actually fix that or not, to be honest. Most of the thing, it also helps keep the teeth straight, nasal breathing. Flower says, Brian, I nasal breathe and mouth breathing affects your side profile. Interesting. Brian says, I think mouth breathing exercises can sometimes get the energy out faster. There's a time for mouth breathing for sure. I don't know if you've seen me do the physiological sigh, where you do two, you breathe in through the nose 70% to capacity, then you take a sip of air as if you're topping it off, hold it for the briefest moment, and then you exhale with a sigh through your mouth. Dr. Andrew Weil does the 3-7-8, 3-6-8. I'll have to, it's been a while since I've done it. I'll have to look that up. You breathe in for a count of 3. You hold the breath for a count of 7. You exhale for a count of 8. And you exhale, pursing your mouth and making a whoosh sound through your mouth. So there are times you want to breathe through the mouth. There's some cooling breaths in yoga pranayama that you do, where you're inhaling through your mouth and exhale through your nose, and it cools down your system. But generally speaking, in pranayama, regular breathing, the nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating. Except also in very, very, very strenuous exercise. You know, I do my breathing burpees, but if I was going all out, if I was going for a PR attempt, if I was running a 5K, I'd breathe any way I could, get that oxygen in. The fitness touch is here. Hey, how are you, my friend? Appreciate you stopping by. Brian says, when I was doing a technique, breathing out from the book, from this book, to open the third eye, it had me do mouth breathing one. Again, mouth breathing can be valuable in its place. As a regular habit, though, you want to cultivate the nasal breathing for any type of, I'm going to say 90% of all pranayama techniques are going to be focused on nasal breathing. Let's see. Brian's saying hi to Fitness Hutch. Flower says, Mike ain't here yet. He is not. He usually comes in the evening. Fitness Hutch says, I'm a big fan of Wim Hof. A lot of people are. He's taken off. Are you doing the cold therapy as well? Of course, Wim Hof was inspired by pranayama, yogic breathing, but he certainly took what he learned and made it his own. And he doesn't really distinguish too much, from my understanding, between nasal breathing and mouth breathing. I've seen people demonstrate his technique doing both. You certainly get in more air, um, mouth breathing. Getting more air isn't always the best thing to do. What you needed is to be able to have that proper oxygen to carbon dioxide, the CO2. It's all about managing carbon dioxide. I know, carbon dioxide is thought of as a toxic in great amounts in the human body. But when we increase it, we increase our tolerance, which means that we can put forth a greater effort because the body's going to produce it as we're breathing. If we can manage it, if we can dispel it better, we're going to be better athletes. I've also seen, people do otherwise. For healing, for being calm, nothing breaks nasal breathing on the inhalation and the exhalation. Although, as I said, with that physiological sigh, 2 breaths through the nose, one for like 70%, the other is a short sniff, and then you sigh and you let loose the breath through your mouth. It'll instantly lower your blood pressure as well as your heart rate. So it's a great recovery breath. If you want to increase your nitrous oxide, your natural production, which is great for, again, lowering blood pressure and heart rate, as well as helping your recovery and helping your endurance, then you breathe through the nose. And you also want to do some humming, a humming effect. You can do what I've demonstrated, the Brahmari breathing, the bee's breath. Brahmari means black bee in Sanskrit, either Sanskrit or Hindi. And you breathe in through the nose. You're blocking off the senses. You don't have to. When you do, it has a very profound effect emotionally as well as spiritually. But if you're just going for that production of nitrous oxide, you can just plug your ears. Brian says, do the Om mantra humming. It is the same effect as well. But when I do the Om, anytime I use Om, which is before my yoga practice and after my yoga practice, and of course my primordial sound mantra begins with Om, and then you have a bija syllable, bija meaning root or seed, and that is the vibrational frequency of the universe the moment you came to form, according to Vedic mathematics and astrology. A lot of people might say, whatever, don't believe it. Absolutely fine. Go for the vibration. Don't worry about is this true, is this not true? The vibration and the fact that it's personal is enough to give you that profound effect. And then it ends with a salutation, Namaha. So it would be Om. For an example of a bija mantra, it would be Ram. Om Ram Namaha. And you simply think that. You're not chanting. You're not saying it out loud. You think it, your mind wanders, you come back to the mantra. That's the whole basis of every mantra meditation technique. I just gave away a trade secret, by the way. So when I use Om by itself, I'm concentrating as much on the Om, which is how it actually should be pronounced when it's being used that way, with an Om. A little different in Tibetan than Vedic. But, so you're focusing as much on the first as you are that Om. But when you're doing the bee's breath, it's all about the the M, the hum, and that's what really, really brings up that nitrous oxide. Great for everyone, but really good for endurance athletes. It's great to do before you meditate because it brings the heart rate down, so you enter that meditative state quicker when you've done breath work like that. Oddly enough, first thing in the morning, um, Compulte breath, the breath of fire, is what I do because it's when I meditate. It's almost 3 o'clock in the morning, and I want something to wake me up just enough that I don't doze off when I meditate. Not that dozing off is bad when you meditate. It does happen, but if you can prevent it, all the better. Flower says I have to leave for a while. That's okay. Flower, I'll be back, like I said, this evening. I'll be doing 5 o'clock live as well. Brian saying goodbye to Flower. I know you mentioned you did the Om Mantra humming from Paramahansa Yogananda, Brian. I learned his, for him, he called it the Hung Sao meditation, which is another mantra, and it's a little different just in how it's pronounced than the regular Vedic meditation. They do Soham. You sit in a comfortable position, your back straight. Doesn't have to be ramrod straight. You want to make sure that you're comfortable. You want the spine, you want to be fairly straight because that's going to allow the energy up the spine, down the spine. And your eyes are closed, focusing on the third eye. When you breathe in, you say to yourself silently, so. On the exhale, it's hum. So you're not forcing the breath. You're not really concentrating on the breath. Let the breath come in all by itself, and you simply think so. When it leaves, you simply think hum. Eventually, it gets so subtle, the breath almost feels like it's stopped completely, and you're in that suspended state. Everything is quiet. It's what Yogananda called the deathless state, because you're in between breaths, and you stay there, it feels like indefinitely, until the breath comes back in, or a thought takes you out of that state. Very, very simple, but profound meditation, because it involves you visualizing the third eye. There's other visualization techniques you can do. I like keeping things simple. You focus on the third eye. It's breath centric. You're focusing on the breath, and it has a mantra. So it has 3 things going for it that a lot of others. Brian says, I notice meditation lasts longer in the morning for me. I can go longer. You can see that the mind is less disturbed. You haven't accumulated a day's worth of karma. The mind is less active. Although sometimes if you had lots of dreams, then the mind still might be active from that dream state. I think it depends on when you wake up. Did you wake up from the dream state, or did you wake up from the deep sleep state? If you wake up in that deep sleep, your mind's going to be calm and the meditation is going to flow easier. If you wake up from the dream state, your body and your mind, they don't differentiate the difference between a dream, because when you're dreaming, it feels real, and waking, because when you're waking, it feels real. Brian says, yes, I did. Brian says it was a video of him making the Om noise, teaching it out, and said Christ Gurus and something else. It was back in the late 1980s. I did Self-Realization Fellowship home study course. One time I thought about actually making my way, doing a pilgrimage to the Self-Fellowship headquarters and applying for being a monk. I thought that that might be my path. Instead, I took the path of drinking, bars, and chasing after women. Which, in retrospect, actually might have been a better, in Sanskrit it's called sadhana, or spiritual path. It might have been a better spiritual path for me because it led me to eventually renouncing all of that and settling into an almost monk-like position in my home. Who's to say? One thing that kept me from doing that, though, was you take a vow that Yogananda is your guru and you don't get other teachings from other people. And I didn't feel like I was in a position to do that, honestly. The world is too wide open. Too many inspirations, too many teachings, too many fascinating things that I just didn't feel like I could do that. Which also meant, at least traditionally, that Yogananda wasn't my true guru, that I wasn't supposed to follow him. Because when you know, you know. They say the same thing about A Course in Miracles, that it's not a path for everyone, but if it's your path, you know it for sure. And of course, I did feel that for 20 years. I would study A Course in Miracles, and it took me 20 years to finally finish the course book or the workbook, because it is all about eradicating the ego, and the last thing your ego wants is to be eradicated. When Mocha went to Iraq, when she served, that's when I decided I'm devoting this year, the year that she's away, I'm going to work through the course book, and I did, and it was valuable. But I also discovered that after 20 years, it wasn't my full path. I learned a lot. I didn't eradicate my ego. I don't think you need to, because you realize that ego isn't real anyway. You can't eradicate something that doesn't exist. And when you see that, when you see the veil of illusion, you're not quite as drawn in any longer. A little more spacious. So the ego has room to play, but you just don't believe it 100%. Which also could be, as they say in non-duality circles, I'm not fully cooked. That you have an awakening experience, or awakening experiences, doesn't mean you're enlightened, though. If there is such a thing as enlightenment. Sometimes I think it's enough just to awaken and to see. It decreases our suffering tremendously, because we're not as attached to our own ideas and beliefs and opinions. If you're not attached to your opinions or your beliefs, how can you take offense to anything anyone presents you with? It's just not there. It's part of the game, part of in Vedic and Yogic and Hindu terms, Lila, the play of God. All of it's an illusion. However, it's a very real illusion. Remember, when we're dreaming, the dream's real to us. So who's to say this being the flip side isn't illusory either? Brian says, I think I'm going to do a bench press today and probably still do one meal today. Although this morning I had banana and peanut butter with some organic protein powder. Yeah, I've only been fasting. I used to fast 18 to 20 hours, but now it's 14 to 16, usually closer to the 14 side. Just schedule wise, health wise, I love the extended fast. I felt full of energy with an 18-hour fast. But now, schedule wise and some other issues, that 14 seems right about where I need to be. 14 to 15. And I also miss working out in a fasted state. I still do my first walk in a fasted state. But when I do my burpees, it's after I've had my morning oatmeal, cup of coffee. The jury's out on coffee. If it means if you have a cup of coffee, did you break your fast? Some people say no. Some people say yes. As long as you don't have it, with cream and sugar, really, you're fine. There we go. I'm going to Google it up. Healthline says you can drink moderate amounts of black coffee during fasting periods as it contains very few calories and is unlikely to break your fast. In fact, coffee may enhance the benefits of intermittent fasting, which include reduced inflammation and improved brain function. I don't know if you're a coffee drinker, Brian. I have 1 cup a day, and I have it at 4 o'clock in the morning, so it definitely doesn't interfere with my sleep. I did away with it for a long time when I was ultra running because I wanted to use it in races at night in aid stations, because if you don't drink coffee and then you have a cup, you get that full benefit of caffeine, and it works great for that. But some of the purported health benefits of coffee, especially brain function wise, brain health wise, I decided to add it back in because my mother had Alzheimer's, my grandmother and my aunt all had Alzheimer's. So it seems to be running on the female side of the family, but you don't want to take any chances. If it has any benefit for preventing Alzheimer's or any kind of dementia, I figured, and I enjoy it. I like the taste. 1 cup a day. Brian says, yeah, I'm probably going to eat again around 5, and that he has a cup of coffee. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing you bench. I'm gonna probably call it a day for this session. I'll be back around 5 o'clock, do an evening session. I enjoyed this conversation. Man, we talked about breath work, meditation, diet, fasting, vibrations, coffee. That's a lot to cover in a little over an hour. Good information. So I will see if anyone pops by later this evening. I'll be around. Have a good day. Hey, Brian, thanks for coming in, and have a good workout. Fitness Hutch, I appreciate you stopping by. Flower, always, and Odom, thank you. Good luck getting again, happy birthday to your wife, and good luck getting your trees home. I'll be interested in hearing how you do that. Brian says, yeah, Eric, I'm going to be going to head out of here. Hope you enjoy your day and everyone on here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Have a good workout, Brian, and I'll see you later.